As a mom-to-be, I'm constantly asked if I'm going to breastfeed or bottle feed, which has led me to do a lot of research on both topics. This speech is intended for all future moms and dads because you or your spouse one day will have to make the same decision. First, I'm going to start off with some pros to formula feeding. Number one being that you get to divide up the feedings, which can be really convenient because the baby feeds roughly every 3 hours, even throughout the night. So when you get to split up these feedings, it'll allow for both of you to get some more rest. Second being that the dad gets to create a special bond while feeding the baby that normally only the mother gets whenever you're breastfeeding. Third being that it's really reassuring to know exactly how much your baby is taking in, which you can do whenever you're feeding through a bottle. Another being that after the mom is carrying the baby for 9 months, she just might be ready to have her body back to herself. And bottle feeding is a lot more socially accepted. There's also some cons to formula feeding. It's not as convenient because you have to take the time to prepare a bottle and to warm it up. And when your baby's hungry and they might not want to wait on that. Another is that it can get really expensive. Just in the first year of formula feeding, you're going to spend roughly $1,500, and that's just on the formula. Then you have to buy the bottles, the teats, and the sterilizing equipment, and then the time that it takes and the fiddling around with sterilizing all the bottles and the teats. Another is that you have to take the possibility of producing gas and constipation for the baby because the baby doesn't digest formula as well as they do breast milk. Next, I'm going to talk to you about some pros to breastfeeding. First, fighting infections. It is known that babies that breastfeed have a lot less visits to the doctor because there's antibacterials in breast milk that help fight off germs for the baby. Another being that it's free. You have your breast milk on you everywhere you go. And the baby gets more skin-to-skin contact with the mother, which allows for them to create a special bond and the baby to be more comfortable. And it also allows for your baby to acquire different taste. Whatever you eat, your baby also gets to taste through your breast milk, which can be really convenient when switching over to solid foods because they already have a taste on a lot of these foods. It's also really convenient because you always have your breast milk on you, and there's a lot of laws being passed for public breastfeeding now. And it also is known that babies that are exclusively breastfed tend to have higher IQ tests. And it's really beneficial for the mom because when you breastfeed, you're burning a lot of calories and it'll help you get back to this pre-pregnancy weight a lot quicker. There's also some cons to breastfeeding. First being the personal discomfort. You might not be comfortable with breastfeeding in public, but that's okay because a lot of places have private rooms where you can go and breastfeed. And the pain that you have to deal with when the baby's first latching on, but this will go away typically the first 7 to 10 days. The diet is another thing. Whenever you're breastfeeding, you're on the same strict diet that you were on while you were pregnant because your baby is going to be tasting all of the same things. And if you're drinking caffeine, then your baby might get a little bit restless because it gets some of that caffeine through your breast milk. And another thing is if you're going back to work, you still have to pump just as frequently as your baby would be feeding to keep your supply up. But taking all of this into consideration, it is my opinion that breastfeeding heavily outweighs formula feeding. And that's because milk is a living substance that each mother makes for her individual baby. And that's a process that cannot be replicated in a factory.